guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new, and welcome back to Bookmas Day 12. Today we are going to be doing just a cozy little tier ranking video. I thought it would be fun to do another tier ranking video, and this time we are going to be tier ranking book icks that once again you guys have submitted to me on my Instagram. So if you're not following my Bookstagram or Instagram already, make sure you go follow me over there so you don't miss out on things like this in the future. But yeah, we are just going to be going through and tier ranking book icks. So to start off, I'm going to go over each tier and explain kind of what each tier is basically. I'll start like in the middle because I feel like the middle is kind of like the base layer of book icks, you know? And I just have that labeled as stop yucking my yum. I feel like this is just anything that is like a generic ick where like you read it and you're like, ugh, you know, but it doesn't necessarily ruin the book. It's just something that is like, ew. I don't really like that, but we're gonna just move past it quickly. Above that, we have I'm not mad about it. This is something that I understand why other people get the ick from this. However, I'm not mad about it. Like, it doesn't affect me enough for me to be full on like, ugh. But I understand why for some people it's like a big ick. Up at the top, I have Hear Me Out, which if you watched my last ASMR video that I posted where I did like ASMR book tropes, I originally had a tier in that video that was a Hear Me Out tier, but the farther I got into the video, the more I felt like the tropes that I was describing didn't necessarily fit in that range. And so I did end up changing it further in the video. And I think that it made sense. And now for this theme, you know, like book icks, I feel like this definitely makes a lot more sense to be a tier. Basically like book icks that you would put on a Hear Me Out cake. These are icks where it's like, no, but I can explain. It's basically like, if I explain to you, I think I can explain why I'm actually, like, I kind of like this. These will be things that probably you guys will judge me for. So then we're going back down to underneath the middle row. Right underneath Stop Yucking My Yum, I have Gag Reflex Activated. This is something that is slightly more than just like, ugh. It's like, okay, that's gonna sit with me and bother me for a while. I'm throwing up in my mouth at that, like, ew. But it's not necessarily gonna like ruin the whole book. It's just, it's gonna affect me for a while and affect my view of the book, or just something that is upsetting but not to the extreme. And then in the very bottom tier, I have This Keeps Me Up at Night. These are things that are so disturbing that it genuinely keeps me up at night. Things that I absolutely hate so much. Ultimate ick. Can't get any worse than that. So I feel like these tiers are really good. I feel like they all make a lot of sense for the theme of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one that I have here is pregnancy tropes. I kind of talked about this in the last vlog. Pregnancy tropes are not necessarily my favorite, and most of the time I feel like they kind of take away from the book, or they feel like they are just thrown in there just because. I don't know. I'm yet to read one where I'm like, okay, this is really adding to the story and I love this so much. Because of this, I think I'm gonna put it in Stop Yucking My Yum. I'm so sorry. The next one that I have is Real People on the Cover. I am going to say, I think for now I'm going to put it in I'm not mad about it, because while there are some covers with real people on them that are absolutely atrocious, like so bad, there are some that I feel like are really cool. And I think that I'm just thinking this specifically because I just put these special edition dust jackets on my Twilight series. I mean, I guess technically they're illustrated, but they're like illustrations of the actors from the movie. So in my brain it equates to real people. So I don't know. I will say I'm not mad about it though. Well, I don't know, because some of them are so bad. Like, some of them are so bad to where like I actually really am mad about it. Okay, maybe I'm gonna put it in Stop Yucking My Yum. However, there are exceptions to this rule. Hidden gems. The next one is books with only spice and no plot or depth. This one I'm gonna go Stop Yucking My Yum as well, because, well, you know what? I actually am gonna go Gag Reflex Activated, because I feel like, especially like as I read more and more and more romance, I feel like the more romance that I read, the more that I'm really, really enjoying like super slow burn, super deep and emotional and like moving stories. And it's so funny because whenever I very first started reading, I feel like I was 100% the type of romance reader where I was like, I don't know, like if it doesn't have spice, I'm just like not interested. Like, when am I going to be reading the romance for? And it's so funny to look back at like my very beginning reading romance book taste versus now, because it's so different. Like it really is so different. I was like, I could totally read an entire romance book and have there be no spice and still rate it 5 stars if the writing and the story and the plot and everything was there, you know? And I think at the beginning of my reading journey, I wouldn't have been into it, honestly. Like I just really liked spice, and I still really like spice, but it's not necessarily a requirement for me anymore, which is crazy. Like it's so crazy how like much my reading taste has changed already, just over a year of reading. But I will say, I cannot get into books that have only spice. Like I need an emotional connection. I need a backstory. I need a build up. I need yearning. I need there to be a deep emotional connection and understanding between the characters before they get together, or else I'm not going to be into it. Like I'm not going to be rooting for the characters. I'm not going to be invested in the characters. And I mean, it might be a decent book, but it probably won't get a very high rating, you know, because it wasn't like impactful. Like I really like to be emotionally impacted by the romances that I read. So yeah, don't really love that. Okay, this one says, when books in the same series don't have matching spines or sizes. This one is painful, honestly. Why do publishers do this? Like, I feel like, obviously, if you're in, like, publishing, I mean, I guess not, but, like, I would assume if you're in publishing, you are like a reader, right? And so like I feel like most readers share this opinion that is appalling. And so like if you work in publishing and you're in control of that, why would you make the decision to do that? I genuinely don't understand. I don't understand why they do this. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this keeps me up at night. I hate this so much. It's so unsettling. I feel like it's fine if it's like the same author, different series. Like it still bothers me, but it's manageable. But if it's all within the same series and like all of them are the same and then one's different, I don't know. It's even worse if it's like 3 the same and then this one's different and this one's different. I don't know. I just hate that so much. And it's so unnecessary. It feels so unnecessary. Like it would be so simple for you to just design a book that matches, and yet you chose not to. Why? The next one says stiff books / pages. Ew. Gag reflex activated. I feel like I would not understand what this is saying until recently, because I recently bought the most beautiful edition of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and when I very first opened it, I think I got it on camera. When I very first opened it, I went to like open it to the middle, and it's like a hardback. So like, I don't know, I don't ever expect my hardbacks to be like crinkly and like stiff like that, you know? Like normally when you open up a hardback, you can like flip right to the middle, no problem. So I went to open to the middle of the book because there's like illustrations and stuff, and it was so crunchy. Like it sounded like it was frozen, and I was like cracking the ice. Like I don't know. And since then, like the last couple times that I've picked up the book and opened it and looked through it, it's done the same thing. So like I don't know with a hardback, like I know with paperbacks, if it's like a stiff book, you can like train the pages and kind of get it to go more floppy, but I don't know if you can do that with a hardback, like if it works the same way. But I really need to do something about it because it's such a beautiful edition of the book, and I really obviously like want to read it. I can read it on Kindle because I think it's on Kindle Unlimited, but I would like to at least read some of it in the physical copy because I have such a pretty copy of it. But if I can't do anything about that, that's really gonna bother me. Like it's really just gonna bother me. It's so bad. So gag reflex definitely activated with that one. The next one says books with a human face on them. We don't want that. I feel like this goes right along with people on the cover, so I'm gonna put that in stop yucking my yum. The next one, the step sibling trope, gag reflex. No, not stop yucking my yum. Gag reflex activated. I know some people like this and see it as a difference, and that's fine. That's totally fine because I'm not the one reading it, and so you can read it and love it and enjoy it, and it doesn't affect me. I personally, no thank you. Okay, the next one is dog earring pages. I'm not mad about it. Honestly, I do this a lot if I can't find a bookmark and or I'm just too lazy to go and get a bookmark, and there's no random item that is slim enough for me to use as a bookmark that is close to me. I will 100% just bend the page right down and use it as a bookmark. I don't know. It doesn't make me feel any type of way. It doesn't make me sick to my stomach. It doesn't make me angry. It is awfully convenient. I actually do that quite a bit. So a cliffhanger ending without a sequel. Okay, the clarification of without a sequel made all the difference. That's going in this keeps me up at night. I need closure. You cannot do that. You literally cannot write a book and not give me an ending. Because here's the thing, make it a series, and I love a cliffhanger, honestly. Although it is so painful in the moment, I love a good cliffhanger that's gonna leave me distraught, broken into a million pieces, sick to my stomach. I love it. I'll go as far as to say, even if it's like a 5-book series and all 4 books end on an insane cliffhanger, as long as I get closure by book 5, I'll accept it. I'll be okay. But you're telling me you're gonna write a cliffhanger, an appalling cliffhanger, and I just never get the answers? That should be illegal, and it would 100% keep me up at night. I just need closure. Like, I have to know. I either have to know or I need to know that like someday in the future I'll get the answers. But knowing like 100% sure that I will never get the answers is very deeply unsettling. I don't think I could cope with that. The next one is love triangles. Hear me out. Hear me out. I know people don't like love triangles. One reason that I've heard that people don't like love triangles is because it basically means that one character is going to be leading on at least one other character because they're going to end up, well, I mean, I guess why choose is a thing. So someone doesn't even necessarily need to get their heart broken at the end of the day. I don't know. I eat it up. I feel like I live for the drama. It's so entertaining. I love not knowing who they're going to choose. I love rooting for one person and then someone else comes in and I'm like, wait, okay. I don't know. I love it. I eat it up. I feel like it's because I also really love reality dating TV. It's just drama. And I think I live for the drama. I love the drama. It's going on my hear me out cake. Okay, the next one is he growled. What do you mean? I don't even know how to picture that in my head. Oh my god, I literally don't know. Like, no, we're moving on. Okay. Stop yucking my yum. I'll be having a good time, but then you growl at me. I don't know how to take that. The next one is really sturdy hardcover books. They feel so gross to hold. Okay, I feel like this goes right along with what I was saying about that copy of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and like stiff books. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in gag reflex activated. Okay, the next one is third act breakups. I only like it when the reason that they broke up is reasonable. Okay, with that clarification, I 100% agree. I feel like 99% of the time it is kind of not annoying necessarily, but it does kind of feel like anytime that you read like a romance book, you're just like waiting for the other shoe to drop because you know it's gonna happen. A lot of times it does kind of feel like the issue that happens is like very much avoidable, you know, and like it just feels like, okay, we're just here because we're in a romance book. I will say there are times where the third act breakup is very believable and it does really add to the story because of how it ends up being resolved. Like it kind of like builds the relationship a little bit and it does serve a purpose. And I feel like in those times, I don't mind it at all. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm not mad about it because 99% of romance books do this, and most of the time I feel like it doesn't necessarily ruin the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's obviously popular enough that it's in every single romance book, so I feel like it's not a huge deal. It's just kind of like annoying sometimes when it's written a certain way. The next one is bully romance being titled as enemies to lovers. I definitely see this being annoying because I do feel like enemies to lovers and bully romance are definitely two separate things. I haven't really necessarily read like a bully romance. Like I know that the Zodiac Academy is a bully romance, but I've only read the first book and like some of the second. I am just starting the second book, so maybe when I got further in that, like my opinion will change. But like we haven't really gotten to the romance part of it. We've just seen the bully part of it. So I don't really know how that's gonna go, how I'm gonna like it, if the characters will be redeemable for me. So I am going to say stop yucking my yum because enemies to lovers is my yum and you're yucking it by comparing it to bully romance. I will say I have really liked the Zodiac Academy so far, what I have read of it. The redemption arc I feel like is gonna have to go crazy because some of these characters are so like ruthless in the way that they ruin their lives. So that's gonna be very interesting. The next one is books with covers that make you feel uncomfy reading in public. Oh my gosh, you guys want to know something? I saw one TikTok the other day about something like milking farm. I cannot even remember the name of the book. Never thought I would read a book like this. I downloaded it on Kindle. Okay, the TikTok convinced me. I would be so embarrassed to read this book in public, and I honestly am like blushing just talking about it on the internet. Which is funny because I'm pretty sure I just talked about how like, oh, when I first started reading, I just liked books with just spice, and now I like deep emotional connection. No, this is about a girl who lives in a fantasy world and her job is to milk like minotaurs, as in like milk minotaurs. Yeah, I'm like 40% through. Guys, let me know if you'd want a reading vlog of me reading like crazy books, because honestly, I've seen a couple on TikTok where I'm like, I kind of just want to read it just for funsies, like just to see. Anyway, that is one book that I would never be caught reading in public. So I'm going to go ahead and say gag reflex activated, because even just like when I'm reading on my Kindle, seeing the cover of that on my screen is embarrassing, and it's just me in the room. Like, I'm embarrassed of myself a little bit. But you know, sometimes you just want a super unserious, very spicy, like, Minotaur romance. Moving on. The next one is the FMC always being small and fragile. Okay, I feel like this is every single book literally ever, and like I'm all for it. Okay, we love teeny tiny girlies, you know, they're so cute and teeny and tiny, but it is nice to sometimes see a variety of main characters. What if they're big and strong and unbreakable? I'm gonna say, I don't know, because while it does get a little bit repetitive, because I won't say every single, but a lot of characters are the same, especially when it comes to fantasy. I feel like a lot of the main characters kind of give the same energy. I will say I'm not mad about it, because it's not something that necessarily ruins the book for me. It's just something that I notice. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nice to see characters depicted in a variety of ways, but it's not gonna like make or break the book for me, because at the end of the day, if I don't like how a character is described, I can literally make it up in my mind. You actually don't have white hair. You have pink hair. Did you know? Who is to tell me you don't when I'm the one reading it in my head? The next one is forgetting everything that you read after 1 week. I'm putting this in. This keeps me up at night. And you want to know why this keeps me up at night? Because it happens to me every single time I read a book. And then I open my camera and I try to talk to you guys about it, and I can't form a single sentence about what I read because I have no memories. The next one is unappealing book covers. I feel like this is gonna just go in Stop Yucking My Yum, because it's like in the same genre as like all the other book cover ones, like people on the cover, faces on the cover, unappealing covers, books you're embarrassed to read because of the cover, things like that. The next one is miscommunication. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in, I'm not mad about it. And the reason I say this is because I feel like if it's written the right way, it actually, I feel like, can add to the story and add to the depth of the story. And I think that this is one thing that I did also talk about in the other tier ranking video that I made too, is that sometimes like miscommunication and, you know, flawed characters and things like that really do make a book feel more real, because you know, in real life, people are flawed. In real life, people miscommunicate. And I feel like it really gives the author a chance to showcase people going from miscommunication to learning how to have healthy communication. You know, I feel like it really gives author a chance just to like show that growth in the characters, if that makes sense. And a lot of times it ends up, I feel like, be adding to a really meaningful story and like just adding a lot of depth to the story. I will say sometimes, even though it's frustrating to read in the moment, in hindsight, you can look back and see how it did, in fact, add to the story. This one says, when they keep calling the characters bad boys when they literally do nothing bad. I'm gonna say Stop Yucking My Yum, because it honestly just makes me giggle. I think also because I read a lot of fantasy, it's like, okay, buddy. Okay, you're cute. No. The next one is the male/female main character forgiving too easily / too fast. Depending on the situation, like, I'm not mad about it, you know? I don't know. I think I'm gonna go I'm not mad about it, just because the ones that I've read so far where like there are reviews on Goodreads where people felt like they forgave people too fast, I didn't even notice that, and so it wasn't even an issue. So that's why I feel like I should go, I'm not mad about it, because genuinely in the past, I wasn't mad about it. The next one says, I'm assuming it's meant to say third person. I feel like I used to really dislike third person, honestly, but I have read a lot more third person books, and I'm gonna put this in hear me out, because I feel like after reading a lot more books in third person, I really see how third person really adds so much to a story sometimes. Like, there's been times after I finish a third person book, like especially after reading Throne of Glass, because Throne of Glass, like the whole thing, third person, there is so much going on where like it would be impossible to tell this story to its full depth not in third person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has to be in third person. I can't imagine it not being written in third person, because you would be missing out on so much of the story. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it really is necessary sometimes, and it really adds so much to the story sometimes with it being in third person. The next one that I have is incredibly slow burns. We all know where this is going, all the way to the top. I love slow burn. I love incredibly slow burn. The more that I read slow burn, the more that I love slow burn. That's all I have to say about that. There's nothing else like it. It's truly like crack. It's so good. The next one is severe bullying between the FMC and the MMC. Again, I'm gonna just put this in Stop Yucking My Yum, because the only book, like I said, that has bullying in it that I've read is like the Zodiac Academy, and I'm not like far enough into it to really have an opinion. I'm just gonna put it in Stop Yucking My Yum, because when I read it, it's like frustrating, but it's not ruining the book for me. The next one is unnecessary spice / spicy scenes for no reason at all. I feel like this goes along with the one that was like where it's all spice and no plot. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that with that one there. The next one, being in a book slump. That keeps me up at night for sure. Being in a book slump, I didn't understand the feeling when I first started getting into reading. Like, I would hear people talk about being in a book slump, and I was like, how am I gonna know if I'm in a book slump? Like, I don't understand. No, you know, and it's genuinely depressing. It's so depressing. There is no worse feeling as a reader than being in a book slump. It's just an all-time low. It's so sad. But then the high of coming out of a book slump, that's insane too. But it's like, is it worth it to go through that low to feel that high? I don't think so. Being in a book slump just sucks so bad. Genuinely keeps me up at night. Like, actually keeps me up at night. The next one says, the FMC rejecting protection bodyguards when it's serious. I'm gonna go, I'm not mad about it. I feel like this is not one that I've noticed that, like, I mean, it's annoying because it's like, stop being stupid, because obviously something's gonna go wrong. But I wouldn't go so far as to say it's an ick for me. It's just like, you're being an idiot. The next one says, the cheating trope, it just makes me dislike the characters and feel sad. Yeah, I'm gonna say this keeps me up at night, because there's only one book I think that like had this trope in it that I read, and I didn't know that this trope was in it all throughout the book. I don't want to say what book it is, obviously, because I don't want to spoil it in case, you know, like you don't know. But when I got to that, like the whole time I'm reading the book, I'm like waiting to find out like, okay, what's gonna happen between this couple, because you start off the book like knowing that they're not together, but you don't know like what happened. And so like the whole course of the book, I'm like waiting to find out like what happened, and then you like find out what happened. Well, I guess there's like something else that happens at the end, but I don't know, it just like really threw off the entire vibe of the book for me. I don't know, I guess I could say gag reflex activated, but I just don't. But it's like, why are you choosing that though? Like, why? I'm going to keep it in this keeps me up at night, because your decision to keep that in the book keeps me up at night. Why are we choosing that? Out of all the options, you could literally write anything you want. Why are you writing that? The next one says, authors killing beloved characters. I'm going to be a psycho and put that in hear me out. I feel like this goes along with the cliffhanger thing, where it's like, it's so painful when it happens, but it makes the story that much better, because now, like, I mean, if they're gonna kill off that person, no one's safe. So now the stakes are up here. You know what I'm saying? And I love when the stakes are up there, and I love when, like, you genuinely don't know who's gonna die. The main character could die. I love that. I mean, it's gut-wrenching when it happens. But like, for example, I mean, this is not a book that I've read. I've seen the TV show and I really, really, really want to read the books actually, especially because they just came out with new covers. But Game of Thrones, nobody is safe in that entire series. Genuinely, no one is safe. And it was so good. It was so painful, but it was so good. Let's go on my hear me out. The next one says, the MMC singing to the FMC. Immediately no. I'm gonna say gag reflex activated. I can't imagine this in a serious way. Like, what are you doing? And then I have to like try and imagine your voice. And for some reason, I always just see Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran leaning over his guitar and like staring at me like, no, thank you. The next one is long chapters. I'm gonna go gag reflex activated. I don't know what it is about it. It's so painful. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me because like at the end of the day, you're still gonna be reading the same amount of pages as a whole. But why does it feel like so much more mental effort to get through a big chapter? I don't understand it. The other day I was reading Binding 13 on my Kindle and I put this on my story on my Bookstagram. I turned the page and it said 40 minutes left in chapter. 40 minutes. That should be illegal. I mean, I'm used to like turning the page and it being like 8 minutes left in chapter, maybe like at most 12 to 15. Okay, I'm even fine with that. 40 minutes? Insane behavior. The next one is insta love. I'm gonna say gag reflex activated. I was gonna put it in this keeps me up at night, but I feel like there could possibly potentially be an instance where it's insta love, but then like maybe there'll be more tension later on, you know, like that could redeem it. But overall, I'm gonna say it's a no for me. Like, especially like I said, the more that I'm liking slow burn, insta love, it just doesn't do it for me because it's like, okay, but why do you like each other? What's her deepest, darkest secret? Do you even know? No, you don't. You don't even know her middle name. The next one is real people on the cover. I think I already did that one. I'm just gonna put it here. I don't know why I have that one twice. The next one is pop culture references in the book. That's going stop yucking my yum. It's just unnecessary. It starts to feel like you can just tell when someone is like trying too hard to be relatable and to be cool. That is what the book starts to feel like. No one likes that. The next one is married characters with an unhealthy obsession or relationship with their parent-in-law. I've never read this in a book before, so I don't really know, but I feel like it would be annoying to read. So I'm gonna go stop yucking my yum. I wonder what book that person was talking about. If you know a book that has like that in it, can you let me know? Because I'm very interested. I've never read a book, I don't think. I'm like pretty sure I've never read a book with that trope in it. I'm very interested to see like what book even has that in that. Let me know. Okay, the next one is condensing books about real world issues and social commentary down to tropes. This I feel like keeps me up at night. I feel like condensing any book down to like specific types of tropes, or like even just like condensing books in general down to like one thing, hurts so much, especially when it's about a book that you love. Like, even for example, like I love the ACOTAR series, and I feel like every time that I hear someone minimize it down to it just being like, oh, it's just like fairy smut, it's so painful because it's like, yeah, while it does have like spice in it, there's so much more going on in the book than just that, you know, like there's so much more. And while there is spice, I feel like there's not nearly as much as people like make it out to seem like there is. It's obviously subjective. The amount of spice that's in a book could be a lot to somebody and none to somebody else. But I feel like the way that people market it is so different than how it read to me, in my opinion. And so it's so sad to like hear some people recommend it that way, because I know that that's going to make a lot of people not want to read it. But there, in my opinion, there was so much more to the series, you know? The next one is when the MMC calls the FMC something outrageous. What do you mean my name is Little Mouse? I'm gonna go gag reflex activated. Overall, you know, nicknames are not horrible, but you gotta do it right. I feel like there's definitely been books where the nickname is cute, but like when it's not, it really takes so much away from the book. Like it genuinely does. You'll be like so into a scene and then all of a sudden they say, "Come here, little cheese stick," and you're like, "Come on, waffle." Like, no. Gag reflex activated. The next one is when the author says it's enemies to lovers and yet they are together in the first 100 pages. Gag reflex activated. Why? No, in my opinion, There's no way. I feel like 100 pages in, like we should be just now getting into the story. Like things have now been set up. Like we're just getting through the setup stage at 100 pages. We're just getting things started at 100 page. What do you mean we're together now? That feels like insta love. The next one is when books in the same series don't match height-wise, I'm looking at you, powerless. That's so funny. Yeah, whenever the novella in the Powerless trilogy came out, I was absolutely devastated to discover that it was shorter than the others. I don't have bookshelves yet, so I don't know like how I'm gonna make that work on the bookshelf. I know a lot of people were like, oh, you guys are being dramatic. Like there's so many ways to make it look cute on the shelf, but like everyone is yet to show me the so many ways. I feel like I haven't seen so many ways to do it on the bookshelf and it looked cute. It just looks weird because it's already like a skinny little novella. And what I don't understand, she posted like, oh, the reason that we had to make it short is because it's such a thin novella, like it would have been even thinner as a full size. But then you look at the UK, it matches the books, like it matches the books and it's not awkwardly thin. So I'm like, it's definitely doable. It was just like a choice. I don't know. That's my personal opinion. I felt really sad when that happened. So I'm gonna put this in It Keeps Me Up at Night, mainly because you specifically mentioned Powerless. That genuinely did keep me up at night. That was very unsettling for me. The next one says, my major book ick is when the plot twist of a thriller book is so far-fetched that it makes no sense. I hate this so much. I'm gonna say this keeps me up at night. I hate this so much. Okay, for example, I was reading The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and it was honestly a really good thriller all the way up until the end, and then it started feeling like, okay, we're just like putting things in here to get like a, but when you think deeper about it, it's like, but why are they doing that? Because it actually kind of makes no sense for the characters, and that really took me out of the story. So I really don't like that, and honestly, I did think about that for a while after the book because it just didn't make sense, and the rest of the book was like pretty good, so it's like, it was unnecessary. The next one says when a romance book is over 360 to 400 pages. I'm not mad about it, mainly because there are a lot of instances where it was necessary. I love a good short romance, but I'm not mad. If it starts to feel like, okay, now we're just writing to write and the story definitely could have ended 100 pages ago, that's when it would become stop yucking my yum. But I'm not mad about it as long as like the plot is still plotting and everything feels necessary. The next one says half naked / naked people on the cover of books. Like porn on the covers. Okay, so this just goes right along with all of the other book cover ones, like I was saying. So I'm gonna put that in stop yucking my yum. And with that being said, we actually got through all of them. This is such a long video. Once again, I literally cannot help myself. This was so much fun. I've been really loving doing like tier ranking videos and all these different types of sit down videos and stuff during Vlogmas. So let me know if you liked this one, if you have any other suggestions of things that you would like to see me tier rank or any other sit down video suggestions at all that you would like to see from me. I would love to hear that from you guys. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe. That way you don't miss future Bookmas content from me. And if you haven't caught up on all of the Bookmas content that I have already posted, I will have my Bookmas playlist linked at the end of this video. That is all I have for you guys in today's video. So I will see you in tomorrow's Bookmas video. Bye!